So one of the things that this tries to do is anticipate the requirements for our capital over the next 5 years. And as Director Bacon alluded to, we have a Federal Highway Administration grant that's specifically associated with the I-90 Multimodal project. And some of the implications in the CIP I'm concerned about, as Director Bacon suggested, and we discussed this, and it seems to me that we should take proactive steps to ensure that the 5-year program includes the construction dollars in the CIP for the I-90 multimodal projects. So I'm going to open the discussion for us to look at amending this vote to make sure that we're referencing that the necessary dollars in the construction years are reflected in the CIP, and by the July board meeting that those dollars are there. Kind of an early action to ensure that we're signaling to the Federal Highway Administration that we're serious about obligating those funds and that these dollars will be there. I think before we take the vote, I'd like to have further discussion on that amendment to the language.
Hold on one second. Owen?
Yeah, Madam Chair and Director Domino, the purpose of this vote is simply to release it for public comment. Your amendment, while you can do it, it wouldn't mean anything at this point because you're simply asking at this point we're just asking the public to comment on it. I think your amendment is premature. That would be when the comments come back. I think that's when you would want to take a look at it.
I guess, Owen, I appreciate your perspective, but I'm kind of the opinion that votes that come before this board can be amended as we see fit, and that we want to proactively reflect that this matter be incorporated into the vote so that by the July board meeting, we have an opportunity to see that the actual construction dollars, and I'm not saying no, I'm actually supporting the release of this document to the public as this motion suggests. And I think that's very important, and I look forward to the comment as we've discussed the public comment and see how that gets reflected in this final board vote for the CIP. But I do think this is a matter more that really requires us to be a bit more proactive regarding this particular matter relative to the relationship to the construction dollars, at least in this draft docket, not yet being reflected. And I'm not suggesting we change the draft document in any way. I'm just suggesting that we're clear in this vote that by the July board meeting, those dollars are there in the construction years so that this draft is reflective of the board's discussion in our vote.
I understand your concern, and I agree with council. We can take that, we can go back with the team and talk about this, but we can't add this to this vote because it is just releasing this for public comment.
I'm willing to consider my motion as a separate motion before this board, and because I certainly don't want to upset the release of this document, but then I'd like to discuss a motion independent of this vote for this document to include the dollars necessary in the construction years for the I-90 multimodal project.
That type of amendment would be appropriate to certainly discuss and to vote on.
Madam Chair, just to follow up, so I recognize Director Domino's request and discussion on this. So what would be the appropriate way to have that, and we'll through Owen and maybe through the committee, to have that discussion and become a part of what's moving forward? Obviously today, as has been clearly laid out, we're just opening this for public comment. But if we wanted to have that discussion subsequent to following up the final approval of the CIP, what would be the appropriate way to address what Director Domino was talking about in terms of getting this out to the public, but also allowing us to have a discussion and to have real numbers to reflect on the final version of what we will be voting on in the next month or two?
So my request would be for an opportunity for the staff to meet with you all in a subcommittee meeting to talk through this, as opposed to doing an amendment right now. That would be my request.
And that would allow us, if that was the case, to take this up at a future meeting before we do a final vote on the
Yes.
CIP.
Well, I'm happy to be briefed and informed about the necessary steps, but I guess what I'm asking us to understand before we vote in July on a final CIP, that we need to be proactively engaged in reflecting our commitment to the Federal Highway Administration, that we're really going to assign the dollars necessary to advance the I-90 multimodal project in the CIP. So I look forward to the presentation by the Secretary to the A&F Committee and the CIP Committee. Maybe it could be a joint committee, or maybe it could be separate committee meetings. But that then I would ask that we have that happen, and I would hold off from moving my amendment forward on this particular matter, and that we discuss it thoroughly before the July board meeting so that this matter is satisfactorily addressed. Is that acceptable to you, Secretary?
Yes, and we're committed to that.
Can I just ask a question? I just want to understand it. So this is just for public review, input? Right, so,
This is just for public comment.
all right, so wouldn't it make sense that before we vote on this and give the impression that we've already made our mind up on this, which I think some might take it that way, that we just wait for the public comment and then have their meeting and discuss it based on what the public comment is? Did I miss something? I don't know.
And that's my request.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just like.
And if I could just speak to that, would it be appropriate then to try and schedule a F&A subcommittee meeting in the meantime to have that presentation that we're talking about, move this forward today, and then whether it be a special subcommittee meeting or whatever in the timeline, so we have a chance to, as the subcommittee, take a look at that and then further have further discussions.
Yes, we can do this at a subcommittee meeting. And have
Madam
those
Chair,
further
and
discussions.
the committee can meet as long as it's at least 48 hours from today, at any time, and talk about a single issue. You know, this could be the only thing on the agenda if you want, just to make it easier for everyone.
I agree. Thank you, Director McGee, for trying to advance this as soon as possible. And I guess relative to the other director, this is not a matter of trying to presupposing the public comment. It's a matter of, I think this was an oversight. I think that we needed to be clear earlier with the Federal High Administration that these dollars were going to be committed in the construction program of the CIP, and I'm just trying to correct that oversight. So I appreciate, though, however, the alternative approach to have us meet with the committee as soon as possible to ensure that this oversight is addressed. Director Fagan?
And I would put out to my committee as well, if that made sense to do a joint committee with you as well. I certainly would like to sit in on that meeting.
Thank you, Director.
We will make sure everyone is invited to the meeting, and we will get it scheduled very soon. But I do want to say, you know, with respect to the team that's been working on this is not an oversight. This is something, as the administrator said, we've had FHWA out here. We took the administrator through this project, talked extensively about this project. They know the schedule that we're on. They understand the process that we're going through right now. So I don't want this to be characterized as if it was an oversight by our staff, because it wasn't.
I will agree to disagree on that particular matter, Madam Chair.
Oh, no, and I understand that. I just want to make sure that the staff did an excellent job at the direction of me. So I just want to say it was not an oversight. We will make the presentation to the committee. I think that'll be a wonderful opportunity for the members to discuss this. And then as we're getting through the public comment period, we can talk about what that final product will look like.
There's one other matter that I think more falls in the context of a recommendation. The Finance and Audit Committee recommended that the CIP is a reflection, if you will, of the Massachusetts Department of Transportation's needs capital-wide. And we recommended that the Finance and Audit Committee get a presentation on the capital assessment needs of